Good morning. Well, I don't know if it's a good morning after that Sixers loss last night, but I'm here to clarify Brett Brown and my thoughts on him because I've been on the record saying this. He's not perfect, and I really don't know if he is the guy, and to be honest, I'm leaning towards him not being the guy. I really am. And I think I defend him so much because of the lack of respect that he gets. So because everyone literally crushes every single little thing that he does and gives him zero respect whenever he does something good, I stand up and I try and defend him. I actually lean towards he's not the guy. And I've made videos and I've been on the record saying that for multiple months now. He has trouble adjusting. He has trouble with certain aspects of the game. But I can't get over the fact that every single loss ever is on his fault. But when we win, he has nothing to do with it. His fingerprints are not on the game. That was just the talent of the players out there winning the basketball game. I'm sorry, but that's not how it works. So when I know he's going to get ripped apart, I sit there and I try and say, well, take a look at this in a different way. When it comes to the pick and roll defense last night, yeah, that was a problem. But when I did my post-game video and I was really in the heat of the moment and I was discussing the Mike Scott for Amir Johnson thing, at the end of the game where Zach LaVine just went to the rack, I can't justify Amir Johnson either. I know he was plus 12 and he did okay. Amir Johnson didn't play 28 games or 20 games in the last 28 for a reason. Like, the guy doesn't play for a reason. And think about him on Zach LaVine at the end of the game. It's easy to rip that play apart because Mike Scott didn't make the play, but I'm sorry, you can't sit here and tell me in my face that you would have been so much more comfortable with Amir Johnson in the game. If Embiid was sitting on the bench, if Boban was sitting on the bench, it's a different story. It's a different story. Although Boban's slow as hell, and I don't know if he'd be able to handle it either. But I'm sorry, you can't tell me that Amir Johnson would have been the difference maker at the end of the game. Realistically, you had two veteran players fall asleep. But that's not what this is about. It's not about that one play. It's just my thoughts on Brett Brown as a whole. This is what it comes down to. We made these trades, and people just expected us to never lose a basketball game again. They expected us to be perfect and go to the finals. Well, realistically, there's a lot more to it than that. And I don't think that's just a Brett Brown problem. I mean, it's a serious thing that when you add new players to a team and when your roster turns over 4 times in a damn season, it doesn't just snap like that. But that also doesn't mean that Brett Brown's perfect. He has problems. He struggles. And I'm leaning towards he's not the guy. But I think my heart defends him because of the ridiculousness of the fan base when it comes to, he stinks! He's the worst ever! Worst NBA coach ever! I mean, that's just not true. That's not true. We did win over 50 games and make it to the second round last year. Nobody expected that. He's not the worst coach ever. Does he struggle with adjustments? Yes. Does he struggle with rotations and other things? Yes, he does. He does. And I would never say he doesn't. I don't know if he's the guy, and I lean towards he's not. I need to see him in the playoffs. I made a statement yesterday on Twitter, and I said I hate I don't understand the absolute hatred. I mean, it's hatred towards Brett Brown. Hatred. And I don't get that. Especially when 2 veteran players made a mistake. 2 veteran players made a mistake last night. Where I thought Jimmy maybe even could have stuck him more. But 2 veteran players made a mistake. And there is just hatred towards Brett Brown. People quote tweeting me. Keep the same energy in April. And at the end of my tweet I said, Brett Brown is not perfect in all caps. Brett Brown is not perfect. But I can't stand the hatred towards him. Keep that same energy in April. And I responded. This game with the Mike Scott and Amir Johnson situation everyone's freaking out about, I don't see it as the problem to complain about Brett Brown. But in the playoffs and all, if he gets out coached, that's a totally different story. To be honest with you, it's not going to happen anyway. It's not going to happen this year. So why waste your energy? Why waste your breath? It's just not going to happen. And who are you going to fill the spot with? Who are you going to hire as your head coach that's a realistic option? Don't give me names that won't happen. Give me realistic options. Who's going to fill his shoes? I just want to keep saying this so you understand. I lean in the direction of Brett Brown not being the guy because of his adjustments that he lacks. But when it comes to how much he just gets demolished and how much he just gets crushed, I don't believe that's right. Because I see it as the guy deserves credit at times, and the fan base never gives it that. And I'm surprised, because 97.5 did a poll that had over 6,000 votes, and it was, how do you feel about Brett Brown? Do you like him as a coach? Do you like Brett Brown, I believe it was stated as? 75% of the people said yes. 25% said no. And from what I hear all day long on sports radio, from what I hear all day long here, I was baffled because all I hear is hate. It seems like it's the Folesian society where it was, like 15% of the people said to trade Wentz and to keep Foles, but they were the loudest. That's what it seems here. And I can't sit here and defend Brett Brown and make him out to be this coach that's the best ever. And I never said he was. It really comes down to the fact that every move, every move gets harshly criticized because people just expect this team to go to the playoffs and win the championship. Where I think that there's other flaws outside of just Brett Brown that's an issue. There is a huge factor in chemistry. And when you turn over the roster 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 times in a season, it doesn't just click when your best player Embiid's not playing the game. And you got to roll with other pieces. And this guy's hurt, that guy's hurt, this guy's traded, this guy comes in. It doesn't just happen. And that doesn't excuse this loss to the Chicago Bulls, who is under 20 wins. And they're like 4th worst in the NBA. It doesn't excuse all that. The moral of this story is, I think I defend Brett to an extent because of how much people just despise him. And I don't think the word despise should be used. He has flaws, and it's okay to talk about his flaws and to discuss it and say he needs to be better without saying he's the worst NBA coach ever. And there's no in-between, it seems. I almost knocked my coffee over. There's no in-between. So I think I stand up for him a tiny bit because of that. But I actually believe that, yeah, he might not be the guy, but I still respect him in other ways. That, majority, so it seems, or not majority, 25%, allow 25%. Don't. They don't respect him. That's how I feel about it. It's not how I want it to be. I want him to be the guy. But it seems like it's not going to be. And I get that. A lot of you believe that I sit here and think he's the greatest coach ever and he's going to be the one to bring us to the promised land. Well, that's not necessarily true. But there are some decisions that get ripped too harshly. There are other decisions that is on people's radar where, I'm sorry, but Amir Johnson, Amir Johnson's the difference maker that you're complaining about? Pick and choose the battles. I would feel better if everyone was freaking out about the pick and roll defense. That's the issue, more, maybe. Not the last play of the game, where 2 veteran players made a mistake. And I know everyone's going to mention what Jimmy Butler mouthed and all this and that. And by all means, whatever. I take it as an NBA player being emotional. during a heat of a game. That's how I see it. Someone with a lot of passion about winning, getting emotional about a play that wasn't working. That's as far as I see it. I don't take it to the extreme. So that's where I stand on it. I hope you understand what I'm getting at here, all right? Thank you so much for listening. Comment down below. I will see you guys next time.